And you have to wonder, now, this isn't quite at the same level as maybe in Denver, where the defense is doing everything it can every week to try to win games, and the offense just won't hold up its end. But there's
not
no.
Yeah.
But I mean, here's my concern. If I'm a Bills fan this morning, I'm concerned about two things, and this is a take that I have borrowed / stolen from Sims that dawned on me after Dak Prescott got injured and the Cowboys began to diversify their offense, put more creativity into the play design, the play calling. You don't just rely on your star player to go out there and win the game for you. And there's a temptation by these teams that have great quarterbacks to just rely upon the great quarterback to go do great things. We don't need to have next level play design. We don't need to have, intricate and detailed and, self-scouting and next level scout. No, we've got Josh Allen in this case with the Bills. Josh Allen just goes out and does Josh Allen things. I think you can fall into the trap of relying too much on Josh Allen to save your ass. And I think the Bills may be guilty of that currently. And the other thing, Miles, and this was from talking to Patrick Peterson about both of his interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
There's something on film that savvy defensive backs are deciphering, and they're factoring it into the way they play the Bills. I could hear it in the way Patrick Peterson explained it. The first interception, he knows Josh Allen likes to leave the pocket. Well, as soon as Josh Allen left the pocket, Patrick Peterson pushed Isaiah McKenzie out of bounds. It's a legal play. The illegal contact rules go away when the quarterback leaves the pocket. So he leaves the pocket, and Peterson neutralized McKenzie. If you watch that first interception, if we can play it, you can see McKenzie just standing there. He's helpless. He's out of the play. He's done.
Right.
He's a spectator. And then from there, Peterson knew where to be, what to go. He was waiting for somebody to. Look at McKenzie. He's just standing there. He didn't even go try to make the tackle. I mean, it's not like you're disqualified at that point. Get back in the field. But and then on the second one, it was another example, that second interception, another example of film study and understanding tendencies. And there's Peterson in the right spot. And he said Gabe Davis was split wide, and he knew that Davis at some point was going to break to the middle from film study. And he was waiting for Davis to break. And the moment he noticed him break, he forgot about Davis and started playing the quarterback and just waited for it. And he knew it was coming. So Ken Dorsey, Sean McDermott, whoever, you better spend some time this week. Get your quality control people on it. Self-scout.
Yeah.
Because you are falling behind in the competition. And this is one of the things I love about football. As you get deeper into the season, the competition is, can we stay ahead of what we've done and what we're doing?
Yes.
More so than what the opponent is. Because they're going to figure something out, and it's going to kill us in a key moment. And that's a prime example of it yesterday. Patrick Peterson, now, he had to put in the time. Kyler Murray. He had to put in the time.
Whoa.
Catching strays.
Where'd that come from?
But this is an example.
Kyler Murray didn't even play yesterday, and he's catching strays.
This is an example of why it becomes an around-the-clock obsession to study film. There's so much you can look for. You don't know what you're looking for. You're just looking and looking and looking. What do they do? What can I glean from this that's going to help me in that moment? And this is a prime example of it. Patrick Peterson knew where to be, when to be, how to be, and they win the game. At a moment where we're expecting Josh Allen to throw one of those piss missiles right down the seam, and Sims was saying it, here it comes. He's going to throw it right down the middle. It's going to be a touchdown. We've seen it. We've seen it. The problem is the opponents have seen it too. And after they see it enough times, they come up with ways to stop it. And that's exactly what Peterson did. So if I'm the Bills, I'm concerned about this. There is a flaw that we need to eliminate quickly. We need to come up with something to counter this because they've begun to figure us out.
That's exactly right, Mike. It's always the counter to the counter, right? You come out in the beginning of the season, you have a plan to establish what it is that you want to do, what it is that your identity is going to be. Defenses start to figure that out, at least if we're talking about offense, right? And then you have to say, okay, how do we now start to play off of things that maybe we've done, or how do we introduce something that's a little bit newer, a little more of a wrinkle? I mean, we're not going to talk that much about this game, but the Kansas City Chiefs are doing that right now, right? They got Kadarius Toney, and they're still doing all kinds of different things. And yes, granted, they were playing the Jaguars yesterday, but you see how they continually introduce new and different things into what they already have. The Buffalo Bills are going to have to start doing that. I mean, they have elite players in Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. How do you continue to make sure that the guys around them, right, the Dawson Knoxes of the world, the Gabe Davises, the Isaiah McKenzies, how do we make sure that we are still utilizing those guys to their fullest potential and making sure that you don't have situations where a veteran cornerback like Patrick Peterson can figure out tendencies? Not every team has a Patrick Peterson, right? I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. So you're not going to always face those kinds of things where you've got a defensive back who understands how things are because they've been in the league for 10 plus years and still has that kind of elite ability. But the smart defensive coaches are also going to figure out those tendencies, because like you said, if there are things that I always say this, if I can figure out certain tendencies and certain things, then there are certainly coaches that have not only figured that out, but probably figured out a way to combat it. So once we're saying these things as TV people, then it's definitely incumbent on the Bills to figure out what they have to do to make sure those things don't happen anymore. You've got to figure out some tendency breakers and get those things in there so you're not facing situations like that.
And this gets back to something I said before the season. The weight of the world was on the Buffalo Bills coming into this year. Prohibitive Super Bowl favorites, Josh Allen, MVP. It's high expectations. And you throw Ken Dorsey into the offensive coordinator job, and we don't know what he's going to do in that role. We don't know. That was a new role for him. They had kind of worked him in last year, but Brian Daboll leaves. This is look. I know we're beginning the process, the annual game of who's going to be a head coach. And I should do this. I should keep notes every Sunday. You hear the various names. Well, he's going to be a coach next year. He's going to be a head coach next year. Hey, there aren't going to be that many vacancies. Yeah. Hey, sports media, broadcasters, you're flagging like 20 guys to be head coaches next year. There won't be 20 vacancies. But when you have a defensive coach, the offensive coordinator position is so critical. And Sean McDermott's a defensive guy, and your offensive coordinator leaves and enter a new offensive coordinator. That's why I would err on the side, all due respect to Coach Dungy, one of the greats of all time. He was a defensive guy. I would want an offensive coach just because I know I'm going to have continuity in my offensive, just this whole effort of how do we stay ahead? How do we have from this year to next year, from this game to next game, the head coach, the Sean Payton, the straw who stirs the drink, the guy who's burning the midnight oil, coming up with these plays? What wrinkle can we throw in against this defense? How do we stay ahead of them, both as it relates to their defense and our offense? Sometimes it's got to be the man in charge who's doing that. And the Vikings swung back to an offensive guy for the first time since Brad Childress. I mean, it took about 10 years to get them to embrace an offensive guy again after Brad Childress, and for that, I cannot blame them. But that's the value of it. And hey, right now, based on yesterday, Kevin O'Connell, Coach of the Year. Justin Jefferson, fringe of the MVP discussion. They'd still have to be the number one seed in the NFC, which is still possible. But 8 straight wins. This is their best record through 9 games since 2009. That was the Brett Favre good year, not the Brett Favre bad year in Minnesota, with Brad Childress as the head coach. So, hey, Chile did do some good things. It helped to have Brett Favre while he still had a fastball. But do you believe in the Vikings right now? Is that even a stupid question after yesterday? How can anyone not believe in the Vikings after yesterday?
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how anybody could not believe in the Vikings. Like I said, they've proven that they can go play with the big boys.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.